So this is the aftermath of the pre-sketch that I've just done. I do this off the screen, just little bits here and there. It's hard to record just because I just literally do 5 minutes in the house, 5 minutes around. Because I carry my sketchbook everywhere and stuff, so I do the pre-sketch at home. Anyway, now I'm in the studio, I can do some watercolour painting. And I've made an offset kind of masking background here. I usually do these perpendicular to the actual paper, but today I thought I'd do an offset one just to see the kind of effect it might have. And now I'm just getting my watercolour paints and I'm going to apply some colour here. I've just had a cool thought. Maybe I usually do blue in the top and brown at the back and the bottom. But how if I do brown at the top and blue at the bottom? I wonder what kind of effect this will have. So I'm just applying a thick layer on the top edges here first. Just like so. And then once I get closer to the vehicle, I'm just going to water that down. Let that thick paint run into it. Then I'm just going to isolate the shape of the vehicle in this negative space with water there. I'm using a variety of different shades of brown, so it's not completely, maybe a touch of grey as well. It's a little thick, so I'm definitely going to water this down. Have this come down here. It doesn't matter if I overlap the truck or anything, because I can just go over it again. Once you've had plenty of practice, you can soon learn to fix mistakes or fix things that weren't really intended. So the same process in this corner. And now I've done the brown at the top, I'm going to add a touch of blue. This is quite a dark blue. There. Then as I get closer to the truck itself, add a few lighter tones. Make sure there's plenty of paint on there. This is quite a thick layer of watercolour, but that's because I will be lifting some of this off with tissue paper. Tapping a little bit into the brown just to blend it a little bit. So they don't look like two separate entities, they actually live together. And now I'm just using water to drive the blue where I want it to go underneath the vehicle. Now I'm just literally painting the lower parts of the vehicle with the water. There will be a tiny bit of paint just on it. This will help make sure that the vehicle and the background have a harmony, because I don't want it to just be the vehicle and the background separate. I want them to coexist, and I do this by adding background colours into the vehicle itself. This might blend the two together, but because the vehicle is coming out of the actual masking shape, it'll still make the vehicle still pop out. So I'm just making sure any blue tones underneath, because I want to try and eliminate all the white areas. That brown is now just slithered right into it, but never mind, it's fine. That brown's just going to move across. I'll just let that happen, see where it goes. The paper is on a bit of a slant, so use some more brown tones here. Literally just dabbing thick layers on now. Then using just water to lift some of that out, and I'll apply that to some of the top areas. So now that is heavily saturated in water. One final thing actually I might do, I might get the darker tone of blue and just create some splatters just to spread the paint out a bit more as well. Then with the brown, do the same thing, just to help spread it around. Then now the paint's everywhere, and we're going to lift some of that out with a bit of tissue. So I'm going to start with the truck first, because I want that to be the least amount. This will help create textures as well. I'm not just scraping it, I'm just dabbing it. And the creases of the tissue paper will create textures within it. I think this gives an overall much more interesting look. I'm self-taught, so I literally just guess what I'm doing. But I've had enough practice to know what I think feels right, what doesn't. Okay, so I can see this is a bit too dark and a bit too saturated, so I'm actually thinking this masking tape might not hold that much, but we'll see what happens when I lift up the masking tape. You can see how much of a texture that's created up there. Okay, and then it's lifted a lot of paint up, so I'm just got a few touches of pure paint, not actually dabbing it in water, just around the edges. A little bit of browns in the corner, and just smooth this out. Then to emphasize some more texture, I'm just going to do some lines with a plastic edge. The truck's going this way, so maybe if I do them opposite, that'd be kind of cool. So maybe just like that. I'm not too fussed if I go over the vehicle, because like I said, I can just paint over it and the watercolour will dry more clearer. Okay, that's looking good. I really love this bit looks awesome, so I want to try and replicate that. When you do these kind of random paintings, you'll see some things that you really like, some things you don't. And the things you do like, you can replicate them. Like I like this pattern, so I'm going to try and replicate that. Okay, so that's going to be a good first layer. What I'll do now is I'll let that completely dry. I'll go into the next layer. So I removed the masking tape. Yeah, it's got a nice good edge around there with the vehicle there. I love the kind of weird angle it's got as the shape is going this way and the truck's going this way. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different. So today I want to try, see what happens when I do an outline of blue with a Posca pen. See how much difference that's going to make. Just remember like all the different edges here, so just like so. Sorry, I'm just looking at the photo reference to my right hand side if I'm just pausing briefly. Because this certain bit, I just want to make sure I get the outside right first. And maybe smooth out a little bit this way. So I'm going to do that over the whole vehicle. Also, I want to, a lot of these grey areas need to be a bit more darker, so I'm going to add the contrast as well to bring up some of these details. Because there is a lot of colour in there, so and this vehicle is white, so I don't think I need to add much more colour. So this is a Unipin waterproof marker, brush pen, sorry. This is one of my favourites to use. So just getting this important grill right. See how much more deeper contrast that has to the rear. And I just want to emphasize some of the most darkest areas, so inside where the footwell is here. And underneath. Then if I can get my Posca marker, maybe a grey one, which I'll use for further highlights. And that's bled quite a bit on there, so even though it's quite bled quite a bit, what I'll use is a thin brush. Where has it gone? There. So this is bled quite a bit, so I'm going to just use a brush to smooth it out a bit. Add some highlights here. Because the Posca marker is very opaque, it's good for edges. And what I can do afterwards is use a little bit of white on top of that. So I'm focusing more on the front of the vehicle first, because I like to have the front with the most contrast and then the rear with the least amount of contrast too. I think this really helps to pull the vehicle together. I might even, if I can find it, just lift a little bit of that Posca up a bit. Just a little bit. And then it has gone a bit over the edge, so we'll just emphasize those lines a bit better. Okay, so I'll do that over the whole vehicle in time lapse and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so now just a progress update. I've done a lot of different things while since the previous update. I'd finished off the blue around the edges, which looks really cool. And as you can see, I've added a lot of blue underneath, rather than just have like thick grey shadows, which a lot of them do. I like to have a lot more colourful aspects to it, because I think it adds more makes them more dynamic anyway. I added a bit of a brown pencil just on the edges here. This is just to help pull this front cab forward a bit, and this to pull this back, because I want the perspective for this to be coming out, so the contrast is the highest here. As you can see with the wheels, how much more grey they are. So this is a bit more blurred in the background. I did a few little squares here. This is just a extra thing in the background. Again, just to pull back the truck further in multiple layers. So having these on either side, that really helps. Got a cool little skull up there that I've done. But yeah, had the Barrow Mix logos. So it's just going to be fine tweaking. It's got a very large light at the top here, which I'm going to do, I think, in Posca. These little red bits here, did them in Posca just because the Posca is very opaque, so I can sit on top of all these layers. And a touch of just green and yellow just on the lug nuts there. A few yellow bits for the lights. Now I just need to... Oh, it's going to be quite heavy. But what I will do is I'll just feather it up a bit. Maybe add a touch there. Feel like a little bit of shine. And then maybe a touch of the yellow Posca. So I think that's just about finished. Let's just scan the photo reference I have. Oh, it's got a radio antenna at the top, which I need to add there. What else has it got? It's also got a number at the top here. All these little details, because these are personalised vehicles, majority of them all. So all these little details will help them appreciate it, because a lot of these little details they've put on themselves. And you want to emphasise the work that people have done to these vehicles. That's what I really like doing. Some of the when people post pictures of this is my car back in the 90s and this is the only photo I have, I like to repaint those kind of vehicles, because there's a lot of work gone into these vehicles sometimes, and vehicles eventually got scrapped because it's unusable, and yeah, it helps bring back good memories for them and stuff. So I think that's just about finished. What else is there to do? The number plate. Yeah, we need to add the number plate. Photo reference. If my internet's working, because it's on here. There we go. And these are kind of like semi-realistic. I don't call them fully realistic, because there is some proportions out there, you know. There is lines not right there. It's not 100% perfect. I mean, if I wanted to be 100% perfect, I would have to get on my geometry tools and stuff like that, my compass, you know, measure everything completely to the photograph. But it's not about being completely photorealistic, because that's not the fun of it. The fun of it is to recreate the vehicle in a much more dynamic and creative way. And my slogan is pushing the visual limits beyond imagination, because this has never been reimagined, this truck in this perspective before, with this square in the background and all these other cool colour effects and stuff. So it's not about being completely perfect, it's just about, you know, just celebrating this cool truck in a nice creative way. And that's why I do it. And I like to do this with lots of different vehicles, so not just like bikes, cars, trains, trucks. Eventually I want to do some boats, maybe some planes, you know. When it comes to portraits, I'm not really a fan of doing portraits. Maybe just because I don't have as much confidence with them. I've probably done maybe about a dozen portraits. So it's, when you compare that to the thousands of vehicles I've done, yeah. I just noticed the the contrast here is quite high, and this is on the same level as here, so I need to dull this contrast down with a pencil, because a pencil will just sit on top of everything and that'll help blend everything together. Maybe this light blue, I think this is similar. So to dull this contrast down, I'm just going to lightly go over it with this pencil. Because I want the main contrast to be here, so this is going to be the blackest blacks here. Yeah, it's looking good. What else can I add? I've got loads of variety of different tools all around me, so I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I can use that's around me. I've got watercolour paints to my left, I've got oil pastels here, I've got crayons, I've got all sorts of stuff. Oh, it's a dinky white pencil I found. What can I do with this? Maybe increase the lightness in here of the window. Maybe smooth out this mixer at the back a bit. It's nice to have the texture, but I also want a little bit of detail in there. Oop, pencil broke. I'll fix that later. This is a cheap crayon pencil, this one here. So the pigment's not going to be very high, so it's not going to have much effect. But it still can have its due diligence. If you're self-taught like me, you learn to use lots of different tools. And lots of them have disadvantages and advantages. Like my Faber-Castell pencils, they're a bit more opaque. So they're good for more solid areas. But these cheap pencils, like this one was probably of a pack of 10 for like a quid or something. They're not very opaque, so, but they're good for like these small areas and stuff. It's like same with the gel pens. I have some gel pens which are really high quality, so they leave a nice thin line here around the edges. But I also use some that aren't very good quality and they're quite transparent, but they're good for other areas as well. So you just learn all the different tools, what's good and what's bad and what works for you. Maybe darken this up. Yeah, so I think that might just do it. I might add a concrete cowboy in the background there, because that's what his handle is online. But I'll do that with the stencil. Let's double check the spelling of that. But yeah, I think I'll leave it as there for the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later for the next one.